It was 2010 when in the archives of this Vatican department was found an old letter from 1988 signed by Cardinal Ratzinger. In it, the then prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith pointed out to the president of the Pontifical Council for Legislative Texts a serious problem in the handling of sexual abuse cases, that the priests weren't tried by a court. To expel them from the priesthood, they turned to a strategy of appeasement, removing their responsibilities as clergymen. It was a grace, a favor. It was the same method applied to people who asked to abandon that life for other reasons.
Claro, o sea, él decía, estamos
Ratzinger said the Vatican was granting a grace, which was a benefit to people who should have been judged. Monsignor Arrieta explains that to fight against abuse, Cardinal Ratzinger began a revolutionary process that would go on for years. It would culminate in 2001, when the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith acquired the authority to judge cases of alleged sexual abuse. Until then, other congregations had been the ones to follow the criteria of avoiding trials and granting dispensations. Ratzinger's role was important on two fronts. The fact that his congregation obtained the competencies necessary to manage trials prevented sexual abuse cases from being handled by different dicasteries and thus under different criteria. This proved to be a very useful step. The other important aspect was his work for a reform of canonical penal law, which made trials faster and more efficient. All these changes weren't enough to uncover the double life of abusers like Marcial Maciel, whose good reputation in the Vatican went completely unchallenged.
So much so that in the case of Maciel, less than 1 or 2 years before John Paul II died, Maciel had a big celebration for, I think, his 60th anniversary as a priest, and you had 20 cardinals from the Roman Curia and those living in Rome present at the ceremony, and with a message from John Paul II.
Vaticanist Gerard O'Connell witnessed Maciel's fall and the Boston Globe's initial reports in the United States. He says this paper's revelations ended up opening people's eyes in Rome.
Well, it was the beginning of what I would call the Great Enlightenment in the Catholic Church. John Paul II, up to then, had great difficulty in believing that a priest could do such wrong. He looked at it in the eyes of his experience in communist Poland. And he saw there the communists using tactics to smear the priests and to destroy their credibility with the people. And he thought right at the beginning, and I think for a long time, that this was something similar.
Maciel had strong supporters within the Vatican, and the orthodoxy and success of the congregation he founded favored him. In fact, Pope Francis recalled how Joseph Ratzinger didn't manage to order his resignation until he was elected Pope.
Alla fine, il Papa, con voglia di vedere la verità, ha fatto una riunione. Joseph Ratzinger se n'è andato con la cartella lì e tutte le carte, e quando è tornato ha detto al suo segretario: mettelo nell'archivio, ha vinto l'altro partito. Noi non dobbiamo scandalizzarci di questo, sono passi di un processo, ma diventato Papa la prima cosa, portami nell'archivio questo, è incominciato.
It could be said that there were two big obstacles Ratzinger had to overcome as prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. There were the bureaucratic obstacles, which showed just how underdeveloped canonical penal law was. Then there was perhaps the most difficult challenge, overcoming the mentality of the times.
Five years after his resignation, those who shared his final moments as Pope, his friends and the Vatican spokesman, give us the full story. We recall the most important times of his life in first-hand accounts by his brother and friends. They range from his childhood in Nazi Germany until his retirement in the Vatican Gardens, without forgetting his glory days, proclaimed by the people. Benedict XVI, in honor of the truth.